Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we'll be diving into a Scott Adkins special masterpiece by the name of Avengement. Enjoy the recap. The movie kicks off on a cloudy day where a prisoner by the name of Kane is escorted by a high-security team to the hospital to see his sick mother. When he reaches her bedside, he's heartbroken to find that she has just passed away. He wishes he could have been there a bit sooner to say his final goodbye. Suddenly, we see the guards are down and Kane quickly heads for the hospital exit. Finding his way to a nearby bar, a few guards attempt to block him. But with a swift move, Kane overpowers them and confidently steps inside the bar. During a laid-back chat with Bez, a chatty and playful bartender, Kane introduces himself and asks for a tall beer. As he enjoys his drink, Kane subtly listens in on a conversation from a group at the other end of the bar. They're part of a gang that's been keeping a low profile after the killing of a member named Rook and the mysterious disappearance of their accountant. One of them, Toon, recounts the chilling night of Rook's death. He describes a typical night selling drugs when they spot a mysterious figure lurking in the shadows. Rook confronts him, and his hand is chopped off by an axe. With blood everywhere, Toon proudly mentions how he chased off the attacker. By when he returned, Rook was dead. As Kane listens, he can't help but burst into laughter, openly ridiculing Toon. He mocks him, doubting his bravery and implying that it was actually Toon who fled in terror after Rook's demise. Toon, infuriated by Kane's taunts, denies the accusations and warns him, with the rest of the gang rallying behind him. But the situation changes dramatically when Kane discloses he is the dreaded killer they spoke of. He recounts the tale, emphasizing Toon's hasty retreat. The gang members instantly back down, visibly terrified. Bez, the bartender, shouts at Kane, insisting he leave immediately. Just then, the bar's bouncer jumps into action, trying to take down Kane, who draws a double-barreled shotgun. He demonstrates his menacing side, effectively subduing them. He demands to know where their leader is. From a room, Hyde appears, and someone who recognizes Kane all too well steps forward. He introduces Kane to the rest, explaining he's the boss's brother who'd taken a wrong turn and ended up behind bars. Hyde, seeming unfazed by the situation, taunts Kane by mocking the scars on his face and insinuating about potential maltreatment Kane may have endured in prison. This tension is abruptly interrupted when one of the bouncers lunges at Kane, which causes him to have a blown kneecap. The man begins screaming in agony. Without hesitation, Kane delivers a swift kick to his face, rendering him unconscious. Despite witnessing this display of violence, Hyde remains skeptical that Kane is Rook's murderer, basing his doubt on Toon's narrative. To dispel any uncertainties, Kane presents a gruesome piece of evidence, Rook's severed hand, sealed in a plastic bag. With this undeniable proof, the gang members are compelled to comply with his every command. Frustration evident, Kane smacks Hyde and forces him to call Lincoln, his brother, down to the bar. Once this is set into motion, Kane begins recounting his life's tale. Years ago, Kane, then a boxer, approached his brother Lincoln, a loan shark, for funds to start a business. Lincoln, busy playing cards with Rook and their accountant Stokes, hesitated. They'd all lost bets due to Kane winning his fight when he was supposed to intentionally lose. Before Lincoln could decide, Rook mocked Kane's request, saying he is pretty much good for nothing. Lincoln, citing Kane's past, was reluctant to help, saying he has a rule to not lend money to family. However, as Kane turned to leave, Lincoln offered a deal, money in exchange for a job. Desperate, Kane agreed, not knowing the job's nature. He visits Hyde's office to get the details he needs. Hyde informs Kane that his task is simple: track a woman leaving the office that day, snatch a plastic bag Hyde gives her, and bring it back. Kane, not realizing what he's getting into, pulls off the heist. Soon after, he finds himself in Belmarsh Prison, a notorious place known as the meat grinder due to its harsh conditions. It's a tough place, especially for someone like Kane with no prior criminal record. On his very first day, he's confronted by a massive inmate for no clear reason. The two square off in a heated battle. Having a fair one-on-one crack, Kane eventually finds himself at a disadvantage, pinned down. But he manages to turn the tables, overpowering the man and smacking him until he's suddenly shanked from behind. This sparks a bigger brawl with multiple inmates. Despite holding his own for a while, they overpower him and brutally break his front teeth. The silver lining, he gets metal dentures, which, to his surprise, make him appear even more intimidating. Kane's mother, Mrs. Burgess, visits him during his time behind bars. She brings unsettling news. Lincoln, his brother, blames him for the predicament and won't lift a finger to help. This deeply hurts Kane. He had been loyal to Lincoln, and it was Lincoln's actions that got him imprisoned. Yet Kane remains hopeful, asking his mother to ensure that Lincoln contacts him. Time drags on, and there's utter silence from Lincoln's end. No meetings, no calls, no letters. Kane grapples with a tough realization. He's on his own in this harsh world. As if to confirm this, two inmates target him. They underestimate him, who proves to be a formidable opponent, quickly overpowering them. But the incident lands him in front of the warden. The warden reprimands Kane, frustrated that he's been causing chaos despite being a newcomer. Kane loses his temper, saying it was self-defense, only to hear the warden reveal that his trial is still a year away. During his time in prison, Kane faced frequent attacks from fellow inmates. He was often left in the dark about why they targeted him. Determined to survive, Kane commits to a rigorous physical and mental training regimen, preparing himself for any threat. One day, while out in the prison yard, Kane gets into a tussle with two inmates. With his intense training paying off, he quickly gains the upper hand, overpowering and severely beating the pair. But as he catches his breath, one of the beaten inmates shares a chilling revelation. Kane's brother has placed a 20,000-pound bounty on his head. Suddenly, the constant attacks make sense. It was the lure of the bounty that put a target on his back. Upon learning of the bounty on his head, a fire ignited within Kane. This newfound knowledge gave him a purpose: to seek revenge on those who had wronged him. As the allure of the prize money drew more inmates to challenge him, Kane's resolve and strength only grew stronger. Each confrontation left its mark on him, both physically and mentally. With every fight, he faced additional injuries, added time to his sentence, and extended periods in isolation. The inmates, desperate to claim the bounty, went to extreme lengths. Using makeshift napalm, they inflicted severe burns on Kane's face. The once familiar face now looked like a relentless force of nature, almost unrecognizable even to himself. Kane's single-minded focus on survival showed no bounds. He spared no one in his path, including the prison guards, many of whom suffered severe injuries at his hands. This cycle of violence persisted, day in and day out, for 3 long years. During a regular day, Kane received an unexpected visit from his mother. She brought with her heartbreaking news. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and they might not have much time together. This news crushed Kane, especially since he hadn't yet told her about Lincoln's betrayal. As her primary confidant, he bore the weight of this secret. Soon after, Kane was granted permission to see her in the hospital, where she did not make it. When he shared this story with his gangster acquaintances, they were curious about his sudden appearance outside of prison. Kane captivated them with his tale of escape. He recounted how, even with handcuffs on, he managed to overpower 2 police officers in an elevator. Using his head literally, he took down another, ensuring his freedom. Listening to this, Hyde couldn't help but express his admiration, realizing the immense strength and resilience Kane possessed. 2 gang members shift uneasily, indicating their urgent need to use the restroom. Kane firmly orders them, "Do it here." Hyde, who's been silently enduring Kane's extensive stories, finally snaps, his patience worn thin. He challenges Kane, urging him to make his move. In response, Kane forcefully brings Hyde to his knees, giving him a chilling warning about the weight of his next words. The tense standoff reminds Kane of the day he got arrested. He saw the woman holding onto the package he was supposed to steal. When he snatched it, he was in for a surprise as the woman chased after him with desperate determination, as if her life depended on that bag. He teased and mocked her during the chase, only to watch in horror as she was tragically struck by a car. Stunned by the turn of events, Kane was swiftly arrested by nearby officers. A few days go by, and he has a chat with Detective O'Hara, a top-notch cop who has been tracking his brother for quite some time. During their talk, he learns that his brother is knee-deep in a shady loan operation. Here's how it works. They lend money to someone. Then they visit that person's family, telling them, "Your son or daughter owes us cash. Pay up or there'll be trouble." The frightened family often borrows money themselves to clear the initial debt. But just when they think they're safe, they send some goons to rob them before they can even use the borrowed money. This nasty cycle plunges the victims deeper into debt. Before they know it, Lincoln and his crew take everything the poor folks own, their houses, their cars, everything. Detective O'Hara tries to convince him to spill the beans on Lincoln. But he stands by his brother. Now he's mixed up in robbery, manslaughter, and big-time crime. That's when he meets Sergeant Evans, a beefy, mean interrogator and a dirty cop. Evans doesn't wait for orders. He roughs up suspects to get them to talk. Despite being tied up, he tries to fight back against Evans. But after a series of heavy blows, darkness takes over, and he's out cold. Lincoln makes an entrance with 3 of his guys, not expecting to see his brother there. He tries to act all friendly, saying, "Hey, welcome back," but Kane's not having it. He's just spotted his worst enemy. Swiftly, he takes control, disarming Lincoln and his men and sending them straight to the rest of the gang. But before Kane makes a move, he wants to hear why Lincoln tried to get rid of him. After some melodramatic brotherly emotions, Lincoln confesses he'd heard from a spy that Kane was going to spill the beans on their operation. Kane, realizing that Evans was the mole feeding this info, sets things straight. He tells Lincoln, "You trusted a dirty cop over your own flesh and blood. And guess what? That cop's been fired." Kane's anger bubbles up as he talks about the rough 7 years he's endured. As Lincoln tries to call Evans for backup, Kane chuckles. He tells Lincoln how he hunted Evans down, making sure the cop knew who was coming for him. They had a face-off, but with Kane's newfound strength, he overpowered Evans. The final blow, a hammer right to Evans' head. Lincoln, taken aback by how smart and well-prepared Kane has become, tries to make amends. He offers Kane a chance to start over, to begin anew. But Kane isn't interested in Lincoln's sweet talk. Without hesitation, he delivers a fatal blow to Hyde. For those watching, the death is shocking and hard to bear. Lincoln, still reeling from the loss of Hyde, gets hit with more bad news. Most of his wealth is gone. Out of his riches, only 1,500 pounds remain. But how? Turns out, after Kane escaped from Evans, he paid a visit to Stokes. Recalling their meeting, Stokes tried to intimidate Kane with a shotgun. But Kane wasn't fazed. He leaves Stokes in a position to bargain for his life. In return for sparing him, Stokes transferred the entire £2.2 million in his bank account to the families who suffered because of Lincoln's shady business. Now, all Lincoln has is his crew. Lincoln mentions how he knew the names of the families he has helped. Kane responds that during the long nights in solitary confinement, he wrote down every name and repeated them again and again. Those names became his motivation, his lifeline. For Kane, even if his life is beyond repair, he can at least make things right for those families. And in doing that, everything he's been through becomes worthwhile. That's also when Detective O'Hara stops by the hospital where Kane is recovering. As they talk, Kane realizes that Sergeant Evans, the very officer who once hurt him so badly, was actually a spy for Lincoln all along. Given the circumstances, O'Hara again urges Kane to turn on Lincoln. Kane, thinking of his mother, agrees, but with a condition. He must see his mom in the hospital first. Little did they know this visit would pave the way for Kane's daring escape. Lincoln has a belief that Kane will meet his end this night, especially since they have him outnumbered 10-1. And he's down to just 2 bullets, yet Kane confidently says he only needs 1 bullet, and it's reserved for him. Lincoln, trying to get the upper hand, distracts Kane with taunts. Seizing the moment, Bez sneaks up on Kane and smashes a bottle over his head, but he manages to fire a shot, hitting one gangster, but soon finds himself swarmed by the rest. Recognizing they can't take him down in a straight-up fistfight, the gang starts hurling glasses and bottles. Bez then equips them with a bag loaded with iron rods, hammers, and knives, hoping they can overpower Kane. But surprisingly, Kane's resilience and fighting prowess prove too much for them. He fends them off despite their dangerous arsenal. Just as things seem dire for the gang, Toon flees, only to return with a submachine gun. Ironically, his aim is so bad he hits his crew. Kane capitalizes on this blunder, snatching the weapon and taking out more adversaries. The remaining gang members try desperately, attacking Kane with everything they've got, kicks, punches, and knives. But one by one they meet gruesome fates. An arm break followed by a lethal head blow, a deadly bite to the neck, and a savage series of stabs. In the end, only Bez, Lincoln, and an unstoppable Kane remain standing. Lincoln, holding Kane at gunpoint with a shotgun, admits that his real reason for targeting Kane wasn't over a potential betrayal. Instead, it was all about Kane's growing reputation overshadowing Lincoln's amongst their associates. Feeling confident, Lincoln tries to fire the shotgun, only to realize it's empty. In a fit of rage, Lincoln tries to stab Kane with a knife provided by Bez. The two engage in a fierce knife duel. In the end, Kane overpowers Lincoln, delivering a fatal blow. As for Bez, Kane chooses not to harm her, even though she had ill intentions toward him. Instead, he leaves her amidst the fallen, a stark reminder of the loyalty she had shown them. Later, we see one of Lincoln's victims checking his bank account, pleasantly surprised by its balance. It seems Kane, in his own way, sought to rectify some of Lincoln's wrongdoings. Not only does Kane feel a sense of closure, but those wronged by Lincoln, including Detective O'Hara, also find some semblance of justice. The end. Make sure to smack that subscribe button and I'll see you on the next one.